humming lights. People have fluorescent lights and things, and they hum. So that's a great point. If you turn that volume all the way up on that microphone, you will be able to hear that humming light that you've never heard before. You're going to start to hear sounds in your house that you've never heard before.
You definitely will.
Yeah. Or never paid attention to it, rather.
And if you have tinnitus, that really helps you.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
What's that?
Welcome back to Charlotte Podcast Studio. I'm Tae. I'm the studio manager here at Charlotte Podcast Studio.
Hey, what's up? I'm Shamar, Tae's trusty sidekick.
Today, we are going to explore recording and editing techniques.
Yeah. That's what we're doing. That's definitely what we're doing.
That's definitely what we're doing. Look, and I'm already working on what the editing techniques need to be. Let me move my mic back. So with this episode, again, like we always say, regardless if you're new or if you've been doing this for a while, we've got tips to help you elevate your podcast game. So what we'll do is go straight into it.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and dive in.
So number one, create high quality podcast recordings like I just did. One thing you need to do, position your mic correctly, because the way I'm looking at my mic and the way I'm looking at Shamar's mic, we both wrong. Wrong, just wrong. So you want to keep the mic 6 to 8 inches away from your mouth.
How do we see 6 to 8 inches?
I was about to do that, and I had to process a whole lot of things in my head. So what I typically do is and that's how I know it's wrong. You take your thumb and put it at the bottom of your lip. Then you stretch your hand out to your pinky. Once you do that, technically, that's where you want to make sure that you wrong.
Yeah. So
you bunched up.
Right here?
No, stretch your hand out.
Oh, what? That was out. So thumb at the bottom of the lip.
Yeah.
And then take your pinky out.
Yeah. Technically, that's where it's supposed to be. This right here helps minimize. Is that the word I want to say? Yeah. It helps minimize popping sounds from like the P's and the B's and what else does it do? Well, that's mostly what it does.
Yes.
However, because I don't feel like yelling today, I'm going to bring my mic a little bit closer. So, which brings me to the next thing. You need to know your angle and direction. Because of these being pod mics, that means that the diaphragm is literally, if you watching this on YouTube or wherever, the diaphragm is literally the circle that is right in front of my face. So when you bring the mic this close, the reason they say angle it, and yes, I'm breaking the rules as I'm teaching it to you. The reason they say angle it is so that you can take out the harsh S's. So if I'm saying something like this, of course, once this is edited,
or if I got a lisp,
yeah, or if you got a lisp. You know,
Mike Tyson was in here.
Yeah. Hey, don't call that man name out. You know, he was about to be the Marlon Wayans until his mama stopped. My mama don't know his mama, so we're gonna have to leave that Mike. Shamar fault. I'm out. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But you angle your mic to make sure that you get rid of all the extra plosive words, is what they call them, or which are the words that starts with P and B, and to take out the harsh S sounds. So if you're watching this on YouTube, the angle that Shamar has his mic at is, in theory, at the right angle. And it's a good thing for him because he carries a lot more bass in his voice. My voice is not that deep.
Come on, man. Don't do that.
See what I'm saying? It sounded just like that, didn't it? So his mic being angled at the side, the way that it is, I'll say this too. Over time, you'll understand and know what works best with your voice. So I know if I decide to talk a little bit lower, I need to get a little bit closer. But once I start talking a little loud, I might get a little excited. Then I'm definitely going to pull this mic back. And again, in post, you may or may not be able to hear the difference because I'm definitely going to enhance the audio. And I'm going to make the audio sound the most beautiful-miss as it can possibly sound.
Beautiful-miss.
Yes. Y'all gonna love my voice after this one. But anyway, so you want to talk about setting your mic levels and, just everything concerned?
I think you're doing a great job. Tay is acting like I'm not here today. So, yeah, let me jump on in there.
I mean, if not, I got you.
So listen, like you said, setting up your mic properly. And one thing about the angle as well that I wanted to add is you can remove or limit the breathing sounds, right? Because we make noise when we breathe, guys, and you can remove or eliminate that. Minimize, that's the word I want to use. Minimize the breathing sounds. So now that you got your mic in the proper position, you want to make sure that you are monitoring your levels. What does that mean? The levels are pretty much the audio levels, like the volume and things like that, right? For layman's terms. Now, you can monitor that through headphones. You want to make sure that you have your headphones on, and that way you can detect any distortion in your voice. You can detect if there's like a popping sound or a clicking sound. Let's say that the XLR cable is, had his day. It's Monday and the XLR
it's
cable.
Trash. That cable is raggedy. That cable has a shortage in it, and it starts giving you feedback. I'm going to dial back now.
Yeah, definitely. All those things he said. And you can hear that immediately if you have on headphones. That way you don't go through an entire recording and now you can't do anything with it. So if you hear that immediately, you can pause yourself, adjust as needed, and then keep moving forward. How did I do?
Oh, you did great.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Because as we're recording this, one thing that we're doing is monitoring our levels in real time. So you can't see it, but as far as our mega desk, we have it turned around, and right here is our center camera that I'm pointing at. And our audio is right here on our Rodecaster. So I know, because I'm the one that's usually behind the desk, I know what our audio levels need to look like, and I can and will adjust them accordingly. So again, when it's just me or it's just Shamar, what we tend to do is check our levels before recording. So make sure you check your levels before you record. That goes back to, like Shamar said, that makes sure that you can hear yourself correctly. That way you hear through a pair of headphones what everybody else is going to hear once you finalize the audio, give or take. You can hear your feedback. You can hear your popping. You get in there and you just talk louder than what you're going to talk when you actually record your podcast. Then what you do, well, what I tend to do, I talk lower than what I know. I find that happy medium, if it makes sense, and then I go with that. I set my mic level.
Where my things at? Reel you back in.
I'm still
I want to talk about the green zone and the red zone. I want to get there.
The green zone and the red zone. Let me put it to you this way. In short, if it's in the red, your audio is dead. Don't even touch it.
That's a bar.
Yes.
Y'all know he's a rapper.
Yeah. If it's red, it's dead. If it's yellow, you mellow.
Hey.
If it's green, say cheese.
No.
Don't say cheese, because that's definitely wrong. Because the green and it didn't rhyme.
No.
That green spectrum literally goes from like negative infinity until, it depends on what board you have. It might go to like -20, -15.
Okay.
But again, just remember, if it's yellow, it's mellow. Make sure you stay within that yellow space. If you go to red, just go ahead. It's you recording your podcast. You're going to probably do your cuts and edits anyway. Stop your podcast, go to the board, readjust it, or, move your mic further out your face, however or wherever you are. Speaking of wherever you are,
yes,
make your recording environment consistent as possible. Now, I know y'all watch us, and
thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate that. If you've ever seen any of the episodes previous to this one, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment. Let us know how many episodes you've watched previously. Now, let me reel myself back in before you do.
I'm going to jump in there. If you haven't seen the previous ones, make sure after you watch this one, you go back and watch those. All right, Tay, reel in.
After these messages. All right. So now you see us with different sets. Like, we're on a completely different set than we've been on from the beginning. As a matter of fact, I think I did this on the last episode, like in the corner where Shamar's at. But anyway, make your environment as consistent as possible. Most people set up some type of YouTube studio. If you're doing audio only, we're going to keep going back to this. Use that closet. So if using your closet to make sure that you get the best audio quality that you can possibly get, make sure you wash clothes. Yes, I said that. Because the more clothes you take out of that closet, the less consistent it is, the less I want to say dampening.
Yeah, that's the word, dampening. I like
the
that.
less dampen, the less clear, the less.
The less clothes you have, the less dampening effect you have. The more clothes you have, it'll dampen the noises. Is that what you're trying to say? I hope
Yes.
so. Thank you.
That's your soundproofing.
Whew.
That's your soundproofing.
Yes.
The less clothes you have, the more echo you'll have. Another thing with being consistent, again, control the ambient noise. I feel like I'm doing this because this is just my lane,
Exactly.
y'all. Look, I'm trying to shut up.
I'm just over here drinking water.
I'm talking and he the one that's thirsty. You hear that? But make sure you control your ambient noise. You know, like I have kids and my youngest son is a gamer and I can literally hear him downstairs in my office with his bedroom door closed and the office room door closed. I can easily shut that down. Son, yes, Dad, shut up. As mean as it may sound to some people, but it's like, son, I'm recording. What else is it? Watch if you know traffic is near where you live. Don't wait till rush hour. If you're in a place like New York or LA and you know that traffic is busy, Indianapolis, even Charlotte maybe.
Shout out to Brooklyn, by the way. What up?
Yeah, what up though? Make sure you can control the ambient noise as much as you possibly can. Because again, make that audio consistent. Make that environment consistent. Don't record when everybody's out.
So I want to dive a little bit into ambient noise as well. Maybe, we have somebody here that doesn't know what ambient noise is. He's kind of described some, but I just want to kind of call out a few of them. One thing, which is the most frequent ambient noise we experience in people's podcasts, is the air conditioner. You can hear that air conditioner come on, you hear it go off. That's one thing you control. Set it to away or turn it off, right? That way you don't have that. If you have a refrigerator that is running, you remember that prank when people used to prank call people? Is your
refrigerator running?
You better go get it. So if your refrigerator is running, do not sit there and record right beside your refrigerator. If the air fryer is on, you want to make sure that you get rid of those ambient noises and control the ones as best as possible that you don't have control of. For instance, like you said, the traffic sounds or your sirens and things like that. You can't really control that. But if you are in a room where you dampen all the sounds, i.e. your closet, because you have those clothes around you, then that'll dampen more of the ambient sounds. Yeah.
And I'm going to add this too. What I typically do when I record music, and regardless of what my situation is, my environment, one thing that is definitely going to be helpful, especially if you have headphones, turn your mic all the way up and listen to see what you hear, and slowly start dialing it back.
Humming lights. People have fluorescent lights and things and they hum. So that's a great point. If you turn that volume all the way up on that microphone, you will be able to hear that humming light that you've never heard before. You're going to start to hear sounds in your house that you've never heard before.
You definitely will.
Yeah. Or never paid attention to it, rather.
And if you have tinnitus, that really helps you.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
What's that?
Tinnitus?
What my dictionary?
I was about to say tinnitus is what I hear right now. So it's like the only way I can really explain tinnitus is just you just hear a high pitch.
Oh yeah. I thought that was like carpal tunnel or something. Tinnitus. That's a new word. See, Tae be teaching me, y'all. He be teaching me. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I can hear that sound too now.
Yeah, so I hear it all day, every day. So maybe again for me, that's why I do, like I said, I turn my volume all the way up so I can hear through the noise of the ambience that I just always constantly hear. So I turn my mic volume all the way up. Don't say anything. Make sure the whole house is quiet. You can't control what's outside. And then just slowly start dialing it back until you no longer hear that bacon that you about to burn. You no longer hear traffic. You no longer hear the kids in another room. the lights, the humming lights, like Shamar just said, you just dial back until you hear nothing and then go just a little bit lower. Then at that moment, that's when you go back and you check your mic distance. You check and see what you sound like coming through the mic. Because you can easily crank that thing up like, well, it's still in the yellow and I'm good. But when you actually sit down and start talking, a lot of us talk a lot louder when we sit down in front of a mic than what we do in front of people.
That's true.
So I just want to throw that out there. So with your headphones, you got all the stuff going on. Check your editing software options and how you use those options to actually record. So if you are just starting out, all you really have.
So I can't wrap up the acoustics.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
My bad.
Because when he gets to editing, I'm really going to sit here and drink my water because that is not my lane. So let me wrap this up. So all the techniques he gave, right? Turning the mic all the way up and all that stuff. Now that you've dialed in and now that you have that good sound, you want to make sure that you're maintaining your acoustic treatment. What is that, if you ask? That is, like you said, consistently recording the same space. If you have certain pieces of furniture right there, if you're in the closet and you got those clothes lined up and everything, make sure that you create the same environment each and every time that you're doing that recording. Especially if we're only doing audio, then it doesn't matter. You can go sit there every single time to do that recording. So maintain that acoustic treatment so that you can maintain a consistent sound throughout each and every episode, no matter how many episodes that you have. All right, guys. It was nice talking to you guys. I'm going to turn it over to Tae for editing.
And just like that, your turn. Tag, you're it. So when it comes to editing, you have free, you have paid. A saying that I've had since probably the past 10 years or so. If it's free, it's for me. If I have to pay, I stay away. Because there are certain things that you really don't need to pay for. Even if you have the money, I could have 10 grand in the bank and I'm still not going to go and pay for DaVinci Resolve. That's $300 for y'all that don't know. DaVinci Resolve is free, but if I want the studio version,
I see.
It's $300.
Okay.
So with that, DaVinci Resolve is what I use. I don't use Premiere Pro anymore because again, I'm paying on something that I rarely use. I don't use everything in the Creative Suite, and I need more than just Lightroom and Photoshop because again, I don't do pictures. So
I do. Book me.
Yes. And if you need video assistance, we got you on that too. So if you need video assistance or know somebody or photo assistance, put that in the comment below too. So with editing, I use DaVinci Resolve to do our video and our audio. Within DaVinci Resolve, they have I guess you can call it an audio plugin, and audio software is what I'm gonna call it. It has audio software in there called Fairlight. For those that don't know anything about DaVinci but know Premiere Pro, think of Adobe Audition. Adobe Audition is pretty much what Fairlight is. It gives you the opportunity to, just like Premiere Pro, just like paid versions, not paid versions, but paid software like Fruity Loops and Cubase and Pro Tools. It allows you to import effects. What are those? VSTs? I think they're VSTs. I can't remember because it's been a while since I've had to use them. But I use DaVinci Resolve. I use Fairlight, and I'm able to edit all of our audio as well as keep up with the video in the same process. I go back to the editing tab. Boom. If you feel like DaVinci Resolve is too much and you're just trying to get this out, again, if you have a Mac or an Apple product in general, you've got GarageBand. GarageBand is going to set you straight out of the gate, and it's going to allow you to do everything that we've been talked about because most of that is external to program. Then you have, I think Windows Sound Recorder is still available. I tried to look it up, and what I saw, I wasn't pleased. I just wasn't. But if you're using your phone, you can download Samsung Voice Recorder, and I know Apple has an audio recorder, correct?
Huh.
Apple or
I don't know. The voice memo, that's all I know. I don't know.
Voice memo works because I don't think there's a limit on any of those things. I think you just get in, you export it, and then go from there. But if you got money to spend and
just
you
give me my money. I'm sorry. Told y'all I have nothing to contribute to this section. I am so sorry. Go ahead, Tay.
Oh my God. If you have the money to spare, not you starting out, you have that money to spare, you've got Cubase. I'm not sure what Cubase costs now because I think they just came out with I put it this way. I'm still on 8.5. And I think they're on like 11 or 12 or 13. They're up there. Cubase is great, not just for your podcast. It's great for everything. You have Fruity Loops, which is a music production software that allows you to record your audio and enhance it as well. Like I said, you can get those VSTs, which are plugins like de-esser, de-hummer, noise gate, just a plethora of things to make your audio sound great. When I mix down my music, I use iZotope. I always want to say isotope, but it's iZotope. And that is another plugin that can go into Cubase, I believe, Fruity Loops, and other programs for
Are
advanced.
you saying Fruity Loops?
FL Studio. Yes, that's what
FL stands for Fruity Loops.
Fruity Loops Studio.
Never knew that.
Look. I'm telling
Never knew
y'all,
that.
we be dating ourselves without dating ourselves because nobody really calls it Fruity Loops anymore. It's called FL Studio. So,
like, what is he talking
for you
about?
newer people, yeah, that's what it is. It's Fruity Loop Studio. FL Studio is what the program is called.
Okay.
I don't. It's mostly like I said, music production software. You go in there, you can make beats. You hook up a MIDI keyboard, go in there and all those other things again with VSTs, and I can't remember what the audio plugins are for the instruments, but that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, we're not. So you can use iZotope. It's a paid plugin, and like I said, advanced audio repair. So it helps you remove unwanted noise. It helps you when you're mixing and mastering actual songs. So if you decide to sit down one day and say, I'm going to do my own intro and my own outro because I can rap or because I can sing, you have everything right there. And again, you have that iZotope.
So when they figure out I'm getting here some kind of way.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I summed that up pretty well. So I'm gonna dial back. I'm gonna let you go.
I just got a question. Now that they have decided on which software they're going to use,
right?
I want you to give some key editing techniques. So I decided to go with, what's the one you said, DaVinci? I'm gonna go with Fruity Loops because that sounds funny. Fruity Loops. So now, what are the key editing techniques that you want to bestow upon these good people?
So soon as I import our video clips into DaVinci Resolve, I go straight to Fairlight. Once I get everything lined up, make sure that all cameras are synced for multicam purposes. We'll get into multicam in a later episode if I'm remembering correctly, but multicam literally allows me to cut between all three cameras. And if I did the edit correct, you saw me point here and here. I think that looked real good.
I hope I was looking like something.
I hope you was too, because if you wasn't, we're going to do this one more time. So when I use my multicam cuts, I can go from this camera to this camera to this camera. And all I had to do was press 1, 2, 3 on my keyboard. So get back to your audio and recording technique.
Thank you.
Because that was definitely video.
And
soon as I open DaVinci, I get all that set up video-wise. Then I'll go to Fairlight. That's where the first thing I do is I put on the vocal channel. I think it's called vocal channel. Vocal channel pretty much allows me to set up an EQ per channel. Then I put on the de-esser so that as we're speaking.
What are you talking about,
I'm
sir?
getting to it. The de-esser.
What is an EQ?
Equalizer.
Okay. I know it. I'm being my audience. They want to know what an EQ is. It's the equalizer. Now, what's the next thing you said?
De-esser.
What's the
So what
de-esser?
de-esser
Take them
does
S's
is
out.
it literally cuts out the S's, the Essers, which goes back to those plosives
Yes.
and
Okay.
the what's the name that takes out the S's and the B's and the P's.
Okay.
There's something else I put on there. I can't remember what it's called. And then I put on limiter. With the limiter, I set it to maximize. I make sure everything is straight before I actually increase the overall volume of that audio file. So that's what I do. Depending on who you have, for instance, with Shamar, I put on a high pass filter. What that does is it's an equalizer, an EQ,
Okay.
that because where I'm at, I'm trying to visualize the chart, y'all. Anyway, it pretty much rolls off the equalizer to cut out all the bass. With my voice, I either have to do one of two things. I either have to raise my mids, which I'll get to, or I have to increase the highs. Now, if you think about your regular equalizer in a car or on your phone, you have it either says high, mid, low, or it says treble, mid, bass. So your high pass filter cuts off the bass. And that's why you're able to hear Shamar a lot more clearer, because these mics, when you got a good mic, it's going to pick up everything. Your mids is literally anything that's not high and anything that's not low. That's the simplest way I can explain it. And it will increase those levels. And then with your highs or your treble, if you think about in your car, when you turn up the treble in your car, you can hear the vocals a lot louder and you can hear more of your hi-hats. We're not doing music, but I know my voice is mostly in that mid to high range. So I have to work on that more so for me than I do Shamar. I don't really touch noise gates, but noise gates are used to automatically reduce background noise when your voice isn't speaking. Me personally, if it's me and Shamar, like how Shamar's not saying anything right now, if you saw his audio track, it would literally be blank, people.
Everybody on mute.
Basically, I'm going to cut from the last word or the last thing he said, and I'm going to go all the way up until maybe a millisecond to over exaggerate. And that whole blank strip, because it's literally going to be a flat line, cut, it's gone. That's my noise gate. I'm not going to put a noise like while I'm talking and as I stop talking and then I start talking again, then I might put on a noise gate.
Okay, I'm with it.
Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't need to.
Yep, no, you good. You good.
Dive deeper
I'm
into
giving
it.
them some comedic relief because I have nothing to contribute to this.
By
So what's
the
a
way,
crossfade?
a crossfade, it gives you.
I know what's
allows
one in the
you-
neighborhood because I done gave a couple of dudes a crossfade. But what is it in audio?
Yeah, I done gave some fades too, and we ain't talking about no lineups, so we
Right.
leave that alone. So crossfades allow for smooth transitions between audio clips with them being crossfades to avoid abrupt cuts or pops, making your edits sound seamless.
Okay.
It's rare I have to use a crossfade. To use a crossfade, it's like I really don't even know how to explain when I've ever had to use a crossfade. I can't think of one. So I guess because it's gonna cut out the pops. So let's say somebody coughs in the midst of them talking, or like how I just cleared my voice a couple minutes ago. I can use a crossfade to keep me talking on both ends. And so if you hold it up, if you think about it this way, there's a waveform in the middle, right? Squiggly lines. Let me know if I'm going too far or if I'm being too complicated.
Got it.
So you have this box, and on this side, is pretty much like a angled triangle coming down, and on this side, it's another. It's pretty much an X. I'll put it that way. I think that's a lot more simple.
Okay.
There's an X that crossfades to where what I would use in DaVinci would be crossfade to -3, and then on the other side, it will increase it back to that wherever it normally was. With that being said, when I say I was able to crossfade that audio to where me clearing my throat wasn't so loud, or a cough isn't so loud because somebody else is still talking in the midst, or I'm still talking. I just real quick and get back to talking. I gotta crossfade that because I can't just cut out me clearing my throat, if that makes sense. So, um, I'm not even sure where to go after that.
I'll drive you.
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right, so though I think let me remind myself. Let me look at my notes right quick. So you have the noise gate, which will automatically remove some background noises, but Tay does that manually. Like when I was on the mute challenge not too long ago.
Yeah, you was there.
Crossfade is to kind of smoothly transition through abrupt noises or sounds, and then equalizer is just enhancing the clarity of the voice.
Give or take. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, because Tay is going to do a separate episode for you guys, actually walking you through the software and stuff. He can show you, in that. Because for me personally, the way I learn, especially something that's foreign like this, I don't know editing of audio. I'm going to have to see it in real life, So as you're giving those examples, you could show them on that. So check that out. Subscribe. Make sure you stay tuned to that episode. He's going to do one real soon.
And if you want that to not be in podcast form, state that in the comments below, and I got you. I will set everything up, and I will show you what I mean. As a matter of fact, if you even want me to cover how I edit a podcast in DaVinci Resolve, because they just came up with DaVinci Resolve 19, and I've already seen some stuff that got me like, whoa, because I don't have to go searching for stuff. But if you want to see an episode that's not a podcast on the YouTube channel, comment that below, and I got you.
All right.
All right.
So, techniques down, we're feeling comfortable with those three things. And I like that because that's how I do editing the photos. I have three things, you have to do the balancing, you have to do color correction, and you have to do sharpening. So having those three techniques in audio give us some best practices. We've already told these guys to batch create their content, right? So come in here, shoot multiple episodes at one time, and now they got to go and edit these episodes. What are some good ways in, I guess, batch editing, post-processing, if you will?
One of the easiest things that you can do when you're doing your batch processing, what I do for our clients, they literally have just a folder in DaVinci Resolve, right? And in there, they have their individual timelines. OCD kicks in, and I'm gonna skip over that. But within their files, when it comes to me doing batch processing, I typically use the same equalizer plugins, and I can just copy and paste them per episode instead of trying to go in, figure it out again, and that will easily save me time. When they do come in, I typically, like, if you really pay attention to our podcast, I try to make sure that we're sitting on the same side every time. That way, the audio mixer, our Rodecaster, is pretty much already set to ours. And a lot of our clients that come in, I'm not taking shots, but they don't have a lot of bass like Shamar does. Their voice is more in my range or, higher because they're, females. So I typically have channel 1 specifically set for me and the majority of our clients. Mic 2 is the one that,
I was always wondering why I always got mic 2, but that makes sense now. That makes sense.
Mic 2 is the one that gets set for Shamar and the guest. So even when a guest comes in or a client comes in, it's easier to change a little bit on mic 2 than to recreate mic 1 all over again. So to get back to me processing everything in the editing process, again, it's real simple. I take my preset effects. I had like one of our clients, and How Does That Make You Feel is the name of her podcast. Yes, I just plugged her. And How Does That Make You Feel by Story Daniels.
Oh.
Yes. With her podcast, what I typically do is I have a, what do you call it? I literally have a I don't know how to word it. So it's a preset. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I specifically have a preset on that effect. So when she's on the mic, I literally just click on the plus or I click on the drop down menu and it says story. I have one for me that says Tae. I have one for Shamar that says Shamar.
Yeah.
And I have that because it's easier to just do that.
You know how that works, or you know why that makes that easy for him to do that, is because we told you at the beginning of the episode to maintain your acoustic treatment. He just gave you examples of that. Microphone 1, that's already adjusted for his voice and the main guest that we host in our studio space. And therefore, he can maintain that sound. And then mic 2 is for myself, Barry White, you will never find. But so now we've locked in, even though we choose different sets to record on and our guests record on different sets as well, but our acoustic treatment is exactly the same each and every time and through each and every episode. So therefore, presets make it easy. You just apply it to all of it and you're going to get the same result because you started out early by keeping that consistent acoustic treatment. You see, I do have something to offer. I pay attention in class.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is we mentioned batch recording. So if you do your batch recording, so let's say you have 5 episodes that you record in that same space. Well, with those 5 episodes, you already know when you do your batch processing and your editing, you already know.
That's definitely how I teed you up for this segment, by the way. I literally said that.
And that right there, folks, is why you need a trusty sidekick. Get you one. If you don't have one, Shamar is available for $3.99, and I'm not talking about $3.99.
Right.
He is valuable. Even though that sounds like cheating, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that alone. But I have my my processes, my preset effects for pretty much every client. That way, all I have to do is just drop it. And like I said, in DaVinci Resolve, I have that one folder that has multiple folders with each episode. I'm trying to visualize it as I'm speaking. So as my timeline goes, it literally says episode 1 all the way until, whatever it is. Or if they don't have an episode number, then it at least says the date. And I'm getting extra technical, not technical, but I'm getting deeper into my process that I'll get on later when we actually have that episode. But that way it's easier to just copy over, per audio channel. So
I'm trying to add something else. Let me figure out how can I get in here. So I think that's great. Listen, we always want to work smarter and not harder. So maintaining your acoustic treatment, creating those presets so that you can just copy and paste. That's going to make editing that much better. But now, Tay, these people want to know the good stuff. Say, what's the good stuff?
So what's the good stuff?
Man, they want that flair. They want that razzle dazzle. They want that salt bay. You know what I'm saying? How do you give them that additional
that bling,
flair?
bling?
That bling. How do you polish off that podcast or that episode?
Get you a catchy intro. I will say this though. Your intro doesn't necessarily have to be a whole song that you came up with or a song that you got from Epidemic Sound or Artlist.io or wherever. Your catchy intro could just be, is it In Due Season podcast that we do? And it literally has like the 3 dings, like the 3 chimes.
It does. Hey.
I know what's coming up when I hear that.
He dropping all our people. Y'all better support these people.
Yeah, go support them.
Mm-hmm.
You hook listeners in quickly when you have that, your catchy intro. And the best way to relate an intro, regardless if it's words or just a specific instrumental, wherever it comes from, think about it like the Golden Arches. I don't have to tell you what the Golden Arches are, do I?
No, you don't.
Right. I don't have to tell you about the crown for over the burger.
Crown Royal. Oh, no, you don't. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Well, yeah, that crown either. I don't tell you about that crown either. You know what I'm saying?
So let's dive in this. I want to have a little bit of fun with it, because Tay will educate y'all, but I want to have a little fun. We're not saying that there's anything wrong with educating. Let me be clear.
Right.
But let's talk about a catchy intro. So I'm gonna give an example of one that plays in my head that I know off the top of my head. So I listen to a radio show every morning. They have this segment called "Shine the Light on Them," or where they shine the light on people, right? And so this is what the host, the DJ, say when they starting out that segment. They're like, "Your mama doing well, your daddy do." No, I'm sorry, I'm messing it up. Hold on. Like, your mama doing well, your son doing well, your kids doing well. Shout out to your daddy. And it just sticks with me. And I'm like, oh, shine a light on about to come on. You know what I'm saying? So what's a catchy phrase or intro? Putting you on the spot. I like it because it's like, shout out to your daddy. Because, I mean, come on. Everybody always be like, hey, mom, when they do shout outs and stuff like that. But they put an emphasis on, your pops. You know what I'm saying? We can't forget about him. So that's why that kind of resonates with me. Or back to the Golden Arches. You really did. Why you looking at me like that? So
I'm
let's
really
get back to the
sitting
Golden
here like,
Arches. I'm going to try to point home with the Golden Arches. Listen. I learned this song very, very, very early on. I know it's a song, it's a jingle, but it's still catchy. Dog it, I'm about to forget. What is it? It was the Big Mac. They tell you how to make a Big Mac. 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on the sesame seed bun. All right, y'all. I'm gonna let Tay get back to his episode because I'm over here bombing right now.
I'm still stuck on this yelling shout out
to your daddy.
I'm still stuck on that. And it might be because I've never heard that, or I've heard it, just not the way you putting it. But then again, I don't listen to the radio.
Yep.
But I will say, when certain songs come on, you know what they are. Mm-hmm. And that's but that's really what you want to put into your intro. You put that in there. Like, if it's just randomly playing on YouTube and then your episode pops up and this person is subscribed, not subscribed, but they looked at your channel and they hear this intro, it's easy to just say, oh, I know who that is. Because, again, if Shamar hears shout out to your daddy, if I hear it, I'm going to be like...
I don't hear it like that.
See what I mean?
You hear it, shout out to your daddy.
And if I hear that, I'm going to be like... What is
going on?
And I might change the channel. Now I take that back. I actually might listen just to hear.
Because it done caught you. It grabs your attention.
It's catchy.
And that's what we want your intro to be. Because we got to grab that attention quickly. And yeah, to your point, the way we open this up, you already know by this point what I'm going to say when I say my name. Tay is going to be like, messing up my mic. Let me get it back 6 to 8 inches, remember. But Tay is going to be like, I'm Tay. He's going to hit himself. I'm Tay. And he's going to say, I'm the studio manager.
I just might.
And I'm going to say what? I'm Shamar.
And I'm Shamar.
Tay's trusty sidekick. Yeah.
Be consistent with it. And I will say early on, I'm talking like we in like episode 100 or something. But I will say early on, I was still trying to figure out that intro.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point where the way I feel about it is like, welcome to Charlotte Podcast Studio. I'm Tay, the studio manager here at Charlotte Podcast
That's
Studio.
Exactly how he says it.
Because
and I'm Shamar, Tay's trusty sidekick.
I'm important, but I ain't that important. Let me get this intro out of the way. Let me be consistent with it instead of saying, hey, welcome to Charlotte Podcast Studio. This episode, we're going to go over da-da-da-da-da. And then Shamar's like, you didn't introduce us.
Right. Tell
and
these
then
people
I'm
who
like,
I am.
And I'm like,
But
so,
it evolve over time too, though. People,
yes.
you can start out one way, but then the more comfortable you get, and you'll get to your intro. Sometimes your intro comes to you.
Yeah. Like these sayings that we come up with, take a break to celebrate.
Yes.
That was something that just happened, you know.
And just like, you plug in everybody else's podcast, I'm going to plug Alan Luck's YouTube channel. You can see me over there. And I start all my videos off with, hey, what's going on, good people? That's me. Because I want y'all good people to be in the building. And I want to know what's going on. Yeah.
And that makes sense. Oh, you about to say something else?
No.
Okay. So with all of that, make sure you have a professional outro.
Yes.
That could be something as simple as how I want to put this. Because I'm usually all over the place with our outros. Because sometimes I don't know if we wrapping it up until Shamar says, all right, y'all. So with that being said, let me go ahead and paraphrase. Let me go ahead and tell y'all what this episode is in short. That right there is a professional outro. Me, I'm like, look, hey, hit that thumbs up button, hit that thumbs down button twice if you ain't like it. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, share. That right there is a short yet consistent, should be consistent outro. If you know what your next episode is going to be, just say, hey, if you enjoyed this episode, then check us out on the next episode when we cover, and then you say whatever that episode title is. Or you can even say, if you like this episode, go back and look out at this episode and da-da-da-da-da, or check out the vlog on our YouTube channel, or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Make it a professional call to action that keeps people in your space. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Absolutely. So, give them your contact information. Let them know how they can follow you on other platforms. And yeah, keep that consistent and make sure it's a call to action. And then one thing I like to do is thank you. Thank your viewer for staying with you that long. If they made it that far in the video, tell them thank you, So, yeah.
So with that being said, I'm going to make this call to action. If you made it this far, I need you to go in the comments and I need you to type in, shout out to your daddy.
Shout out to your daddy.
Put that down in the comments if you have made it this far. One of the last things I think is needed to be touched on is music. Be careful with your music. Make sure it's not overpowering. You've seen those clips on YouTube, Instagram, where the music is consistently louder than the actual audio from the movie, TV show, whatever it is that they're putting this music over. Another thing, match the tone. So choose music that fits the mood of your podcast. So if you've got a dark, eerie podcast, going back to these true crimes, I'm not expecting to hear Lil Wayne. I'm not expecting to hear, let me see, Stomping in My Air Force Ones by Nelly way back in the early 2000s. I'm not expecting to hear, I don't know, Sexy Red or Glorilla.
Definitely not.
I'm expecting to hear something along those lines is what I'm expecting to hear.
Yeah.
So match the mood with the music. Make sure it's not overpowering. Again, check the volume levels. It's in post. You're already done with your podcast. You're already done doing the majority of the work. So with the music, make sure you can still hear yourself. If you're not sure, export it, send it to somebody. Hey, what does this sound like? And don't record it on your phone and say, what does this sound like? And send it to them. Send it on Google Drive. Send it on WhatsApp, Telegram. Those are apps that I'm not going to touch on, but just know that they are like communication apps outside of just your regular text messaging apps that come on your phone. Any way that you can just take it and send it to somebody and say, hey, what does this sound like? I think that's everything today.
Yeah, it is. So that means I'm going to wrap it all up. Listen, guys, I hope that you all gain some useful tips out of this. We started by telling you all to create a consistent, comfortable environment for you to work in or do your recordings in, and make sure that your acoustic treatment is consistent. That is going to help you in post-production. Yep. And Tae has given you the know-how, so some tips and tricks on doing presets so that you can copy and paste. It's your voice. You're going to give the same voice each and every time, the same personality. So just make it life easy for you. Set up your environment properly. Now you got the presets to help cut and paste in there so you don't have to recreate that each and every time. And then you want to add a little bit of razzle dazzle up in there, creating you a dope intro and giving you a professional outro, and then making sure that your music matches the mood, the mood and something else. The tone. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I was listening. The tone as well. And then make sure it doesn't overpower. And then also one thing too is making sure copyrights. You know what I'm saying? So As long as that's in order, YouTube Studio, they have some that are free for you to use. Some of them come with requirements as far as, hey, you got to put the artist name in there plus the name of the track. Just make sure you read that stuff before you download it, and then you will be safe to use it. But keep copyrights in mind. And I think that was it. I think this was a pretty good one. He's going to dive into another episode without me. Because I'll be over there working on a different one. Because I already got me one too. I ain't even told you about that yet. Anyway, let me wrap this up. I'm trying to talk now. Take on how to reel me in now. But yeah, he's gonna work on a different one for you guys to show you all more in depth how you do it in DaVinci. And yeah, I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll say this too. If you're looking for music, no sponsorship here. They're not sponsoring us, but Epidemic Sound is one of the who we use. Epidemic Sound. You got personal, commercial, and so on platforms. They even have one that's for free, but I'm not sure what that entails. You also have Artlist.io, again, not sponsored, but if they want to sponsor us, that's a different story. And I think those are probably going to be two other than YouTube Studio, if I remember correctly, where you can get that free music. So this episode is done. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you did not like this episode, hit that thumbs down button twice. Leave a comment. If there's something that you want us to cover not a previous, because that makes no sense. If there's something you want us to cover in a future episode, list that down below in the comments. Check out the podcast wherever podcasts are played. Check us out on YouTube. If you're trying to get in contact with us, our email is info at charlottepodcast.studio. We are on Instagram at charlottepodcast.studio. We have that TikTok page. We're on TikTok, Charlotte Podcast Studio. Where else are we at? I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, the website, charlottepodcast.studio. So that's how you get in contact with us. That's where we are. If you have any questions, want to stop in for a tour, want to meet us, stuff like that, just reach out to us. And that's really, really this episode. So we'll catch y'all in the next one.
Appreciate it. Shout out to your daddy.
And we're out.